In the Philippines, there are many creatures of folklore, but the Aswang is different. It isn't a ghost, it isn't a demon, it isn't even a single creature. The Aswang is a shapeshifter, a predator said to live among people by day and hunt them by night. It can appear human until it chooses not to be. Sometimes it becomes a black dog that follows travelers home. Sometimes a large bird that waits on rooftops and windows. Sometimes a gaunt woman with a long proboscis-like tongue that slips through cracks in the wood to drink the blood of sleeping children. And in some provinces, it becomes a wild boar with red eyes and a scream that doesn't sound like any animal that belongs in the world. To most outsiders, the Aswang is just a story. But in the rural parts of the Philippines, the fear is not folklore, it is routine. Families still close their windows before nightfall. Pregnant women still sleep with blessed oil besides their beds. And there are towns where people will not speak the name at night, afraid it might hear its own legend and return. Because the Aswang is not just a monster to be believed in, it is a monster to be avoided. If there is one place in the Philippines most associated with the Aswang, it is in the province of Capiz on the island of Panay. Ask anyone from there, and they will tell you the same thing. We don't joke about that here. Capiz is known for its quiet fishing towns, long stretches of farmland, and homes built far apart. The kind of place where the night still feels wild. Stories of the Aswang here are not told for entertainment. They are told with caution. Spanish colonizers recorded the first written accounts in the 1600s. Friars wrote of cannibal witches, flying ghouls, and human beings who separate their bodies in the dark. Even the early Catholic Church avoided directly confronting the legend, not because they believed it, but because the locals did, and they respected the fear. In Capiz, the Aswang is not a myth of the past. There are still houses said to belong to families with the blood. There are still roads people avoid after sunset. There are still nights when no one can explain why all the dogs start barking at the same time. Capiz is not the only place the Aswang is said to live, but it is where the legend feels rooted, old, patient, and waiting. Travel south toward the quiet lakeside town surrounding Taal volcano, and the Aswang takes on a different form. Here, it's not the winged woman of Capiz, nor the gaunt figure that drinks blood through the roof. In Batangas, the stories speak of something heavier, something that runs on four legs. People in these towns say that when the sun goes down, the safest place is to be inside, not because of ghosts, but because the roads and bamboo thickets belong to the ones that change. The elders describe them as baboy ramo, wild boars, but not the kind that belongs to the forest. Too large, too silent when they want to be, and when they scream, it's a sound people still struggle to explain. Not quite animal, not quite human. A cry that echoes through the bamboo like something caught between both worlds. In these villages, the Aswang is not a distant legend. It has a shape. It has a direction it travels. It has nights when it's known to be out. And the most unsettling part? People say some of these creatures are not strangers, but neighbors. Men and women who live quietly by day and hunt when the darkness gives them permission. Not every Aswang is born into the curse. In many stories, it is chosen, not by accident, but by hunger, desperation, or the belief that power is worth the price of becoming something no longer human. Some say the transformation is passed down like an inheritance. A dying relative breathes their last breath into you, and with it, the appetite. Others say it is a ritual, a pact made in the dark, sealed by consuming a kind of oil or stone that changes the body from the inside. Once taken, there is no returning to who you were. The craving begins, the senses sharpen, and the line between human and predator dissolves. But the most unsettling belief is this: no one becomes an Aswang by mistake. It is a decision made by someone who feels left behind, powerless, or invisible. Someone who believes they must cross into the forbidden just to survive or get ahead. In the stories, an Aswang is not simply evil. It is someone who decides that being human is no longer enough. And in that way, the legend isn't about monsters. It's about what a person is capable of when the world offers them no other way to win. The Philippines is not the only place where people speak of humans who choose to become something else. On the other side of the world, among the Navajo of the American Southwest, there is a legend of the Skinwalker, a witch who gains power by performing a ritual so forbidden they are no longer considered human. Like the Aswang, a Skinwalker is not cursed into existence. It is made through intention, secrecy, and the willingness to break the deepest laws of community and spirit. Both creatures share the same blueprint: a person who feels powerless, a ritual that promises strength, a transformation that requires abandoning humanity, and a culture that refuses to speak of them lightly, not out of superstition, but out of respect for the danger. Different continents, different languages, different histories, yet the same warning survives. There are people who will trade their soul to escape weakness. There are powers that only exist when someone is willing to cross the line. And once the change is made, they don't just hide from society, they hunt it. Most stories about the Aswang feel distant, passed from voice to voice, stripped of names, places, and dates. But the one I grew up hearing wasn't told like folklore. It was told by my grandfather. It happened to my uncle when he was about 10 years old. In Taal, Batangas, the rule was simple: be inside before the sun goes down. Not because of curfew, not because of discipline, but because there were people in town who were believed to change after dark. Some were neighbors, some were dayo, outsiders who had moved in from other provinces. People you might speak to during the day, but never trust at night. One evening, my uncle was still outside, playing near the bamboo trees as the last light was disappearing. Then, my grandfather heard it, a scream. Not fully animal, not fully human. A sound that didn't belong to the world. He grabbed the only thing he had, a sharpened piece of bamboo, wrapped with an old shirt for a handle, and ran. When he reached the clearing, he saw it, a massive wild boar, completely still, staring directly at my uncle, as if deciding when to strike. My grandfather didn't shout. He didn't freeze. He charged, drove the bamboo spear into its side, then shielded my uncle with his own body, waiting for the tusk to tear into him. But instead of an attack, there was a shriek, and then silence. The creature vanished into the dark. The next morning, near the palenque, an unfamiliar man was sitting beneath the bamboo trees, quietly holding his ribs, as if something inside them had been broken. This is Joshua Tree Encounters, where UFOs, cryptids, and high strangeness collide.